Man, test. I want to make sure that you guys can hear me. Test. I want to make sure that you guys can hear me. All right, hold on. Let me turn on a light really quick. Test. I want to make sure that you guys can hear me. All right, hold on. Let me turn on a light really quick. Okay. Test. I want to update some of these settings. To make sure that I can hear everything. Okay. All right, so for any of you guys that are currently listening right now, the webinar is about to start in about 10 minutes. I want to give everybody a chance to jump into the room. But if you'd like to chat, this webinar service that I'm using right now does not have a chat function directly built into this page. So if you see the bottom right hand of the screen, it says YouTube. So that is a direct link to the YouTube page in which this kind of Google Hangout is happening. This is broadcast like through a page in Google Hangout. So if you have any comments or questions, I'm gonna ask that you jump over there and ask them directly through Google Hangout. It'll make it really easy for me to check out and sort of hear your feedback on what you're saying, and we can make this a little bit more interactive. And also, just let me know right now if you're in the room. Let me know what your name is and where you're from. So like I said, go on ahead. If you are just coming in the room right now, at the bottom right-hand corner, you see that YouTube button. Go ahead and hit that. And you'll be taken to what looks like a YouTube page where there'll be comments that you can ask and jump on into everything. So go ahead and let me know your name and where you're from. And in a few minutes here, we'll get started. Okay, let me save this. Okay. Go ahead and check these comments real quick. Okay, cool. Ace says like this. Yeah, exactly. Nick from Pensacola. Nick, what's up, man? I am in Gainesville actually right now, so not too far from you. My aunt actually moved to Navarre, Florida, which is, I guess, probably 45 minutes, or Navarre Beach, Florida. Probably very, very close to you. Ace, what's up? Nick, again, what's up? Alton Griffin from Seattle, what's up? Sing from Waterloo, Ontario, Canada. What is up to Sing? I'm sure there are going to be a lot of people. Normally, there's a lot of people on here from various corners of the world. So if any of you are up at odd hours of the night, I know some people might be here from Australia or from the UK or something. I really appreciate you guys jumping in here and attending this webinar so late. I know that's always a challenge, man. Christian from Atlanta. Dante, what's up? Ace says testing. Do I have to keep refreshing to read comments? It says Nick. Eric from Sunrise, Florida. I don't know where Sunrise is, but Eric, what's up, man? Shout out to everybody that's in Florida right now. My buddy actually just called. I'm originally from St. Louis, if you guys don't know. And my buddy just called me probably about an hour ago and was talking about how it's like 37 degrees in St. Louis. I was like, yes, I'm glad I'm glad I moved to Florida because it was like 87 degrees today. So singing up in Ontario, I'm sure it's cold as hell up there, man. And yeah, guys, in case you aren't aware that this Google Hangout is kind of different in that you got to go to the chat to sort of get everything. So I would recommend actually watching within the room instead of just through the chat. So I don't want everybody to be distracted by all that's going on YouTube in this Hangout, just because it can be a little bit distracting. So for those of you that aren't aware, for those of you that are filtering in the room, again, I want to say that at the bottom right-hand corner of this video that you can see on this page, there's the YouTube button, and that's where the chat is going to be. I don't want you guys to spend too much time in there just because it's a little bit distracting away from the main message. I really want you to get you guys focused on sampling and Maschine, and the information that I have for you tonight is going to be really, 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 really good. I really did a thorough prep for this, making sure that every minute's got a lot of information that you can walk away from this from. So the bottom right-hand corner, there's a YouTube icon. At certain points, I'm going to be asking you a few questions just to sort of get some interaction going between me and you, so that we can keep things lively and not dead. I don't want this to just be me talking at you the whole time. So click that bottom right at the YouTube logo to get into the chat. And if you're just filtering in the room, just let me know where you're from and your name, just so we can all introduce ourselves to each other and get familiar with one another before things start off. And also, guys, I'm not sure if you're aware, but Fife from the Tribe Called Quest died actually yesterday, and he'd been struggling with complications from diabetes. I know he's a diabetic. He's been a diabetic for a few decades now. But yeah, man, it's really sad. I know he has been battling disease for a long time. But one of the greats, man. I'm sure a lot of us that are on here, if you guys are big sampling fans, I'm sure you know of A Tribe Called Quest, and I'm sure you know the impact that Fife especially has had in the world of hip hop and A Tribe Called Quest and New York hip hop overall, and that overall style, man. That's just is the blueprint for the stuff that we're trying to do in sampling with Maschine. That was one of the large reasons, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit later, but that era of music is a large reason why I fell in love with Maschine and fell in love with sampling in general. So rest in peace to Fife, man. So we're coming up on 9:57, you guys. We got a few more minutes to let all of the rest of the people kind of filter in here. Christian says no audio interface. Yes, Christian, no audio interface. No audio interface required in order to get this done. Kingdom Fire Guy 24/7 says STL represent. Of course, of course. Yeah. Mike Fonseca says he's from Idaho. What's up? Yakov says he's from ATL. Kilo from Kansas City. What's up, man? I've heard a lot of people recently. Like I said, Kilo, I'm from St. Louis, so a lot of people that I went to high school with and I grew up with are actually moving from St. Louis to Kansas City. Apparently, it's a really cool city. So what's up to all the people out here from Kansas City? Carlene from Indiana. Carlene, what's up? Josu, is that how you say that? From El Monte, California. What's up, man? What's up? Mariana. All right, so you guys, I'm going to So run a quick thing really quick to make sure that you can see my screen. I'm going to get this off of my face. I know you guys don't want to look at my face all night. So let me do this really quickly. RIP to Fife. Yes, yes. Jonathan said he's from St. Louis. Carol from Boston, RIP 5, yes. Josue says Josue, okay. Okay, Jonathan made a good point, you guys. If you're in the comments section, let's jump out of the comments section and jump back onto the main page that you guys use the page, the official webinar page. Let's go ahead and get this started. It's 10 p.m. on the dot, and I want to respect your time. So here, let me get this loaded up to make sure that you can see what's going on. All right. So you should be able to see my screen now. Screen share on. Okay, guys, we're going to go ahead and get started. It's 10 p.m. It's Thursday. I'm in Gainesville, Florida right now, if you guys didn't hear. Shout out to everybody that made it on time. I appreciate that. I appreciate your time. I know it's late where a lot of you guys are, some of you in different places around the world. And I appreciate you taking the time to show up here with me live, just because, you know, of your passion for Maschine, your passion for sampling and hip hop music. And hopefully I can share a lot with you tonight that is going to help you progress towards your goals, man. So let me give the late people one more minute, man. And before I forget, I said this a little bit earlier, but for those of you that are just filtering in the room right now, rest in peace to Fife of A Tribe Called Quest. He passed away yesterday. He'd been struggling with health issues for a very, very long time. I know he's had diabetes for a few decades at least. So I think he died yesterday from complications from kidney failure and renal failure, which is related to diabetes. So rest in peace to that brother, man. His music has influenced, I'm sure, all of us, everybody that's in the room tonight. If you're interested in hip hop and you're interested in sampling, you already know who A Tribe Called Quest is. You already know who Fife is, man. But and also, if you haven't already, guys, go ahead and check out the A Tribe Called Quest documentary. I'm pretty sure you can watch it on Netflix. But if not, you can rent it or buy it on Amazon for, like, you know, rental, I think is like $3. And to buy it, it's like $13. So support that, man. So let's go ahead and get started, you guys. Why are you here tonight? Let's make sure this is loaded up properly. We can get this loaded up. Why are you here tonight? Why is it important that you pay attention to what I'm about to tell you right now? Well, excuse me, because in less than 1 hour, you're going to walk away with a 5-step process, a blueprint that you can use to choose, chop, and flip your samples creatively on Maschine without spending another dollar on gear or records, okay? So I think, as Christian asked earlier, yes, this is without an audio interface. This is without spending money on records. This is without having a DJ mixer and all the other complicated aspects that are required to sample typically. I'm going to teach you my own method that I've developed, and I'm sure if a lot of you are aware of this if you've been following me for a while, of being able to sample without all that crap, okay? So why is it important that you pay close attention to what I'm about to tell you? Well, because the information inside this presentation is going to take you one huge leap forward towards accomplishing your goals with your music, you know, and whether that is you want to make beats to perform for a DJ set, or I don't know, get your name out there as a producer so that you can work with some of the artists that you really respect and admire, or so that you can sell your beats on the web, or just make cool music to vibe out to with your friends. It's important that you pay attention to what I'm about to tell you, because this is going to get you closer towards those goals. Okay. This is that mentorship that a lot of us aren't able to have because we're isolated in various corners of the country, in the world, and we don't have someone to sit us down and say, hey, this is what you need to do in order to make this music. Okay. This is the formula for making the beats that you want to make. All right. This knowledge is going to open your mind, and it's going to help you take your music to that next level. All right. And it's also important that you stay until the end of this presentation. If you're here right now, if you are still on YouTube, I want you to get back over to the main page. We're going to have a few things that are only available on this main page for you to get a little bit later, to get access to what I'm about to tell you. So it's important that you stay until the end of this presentation, because basically at the end of this, I'm going to show you how to get a copy of my audiobook version of the book that I'm sure most of you have by now. Okay. I wrote a book called Maschine, the Hip Hop Beat Maker's Missing Manual. And about 2 weeks ago, I created an audiobook version for this book that is basically a whole bunch of brand new content. I'm going in depth into a lot of the things that I talk about in the book, but I'm hitting it in different angles. I'm telling different stories specifically to give you the knowledge and the information that you need in order to make better quality beats in Maschine. It's really heavy on mixing and audio engineering, the mindset behind sampling, the mindset behind building great drums. I dive into a lot of detail and techniques. It's over 3 hours worth of stuff in there. I sell this typically for $40, but I'm going to show you how to get this for free at the end of this webinar. So for those of you that stay until the end, this is what you're going to get rewarded with, okay? $40 worth of awesome unreleased audio lessons. And the best part about it is that if you don't like reading, my book is about 90 pages. It's a lot of reading for those of you that don't normally read. You can throw this audiobook on your phone and listen to it on your drive to work or to school, or when you work out or cook dinner or whatever. So I'm going to show you how to get your copy at the end. So this is our little contract. This is what I need you to do right now in order to make sure that you are getting the most out of this. I need you to eliminate all distractions. So for those of you that are still on YouTube, come back over to the main page that you got here with. Get away from YouTube, because that's going to be distracting. You're going to be clicking on cat videos and shit. So this next hour, I need you to make sure that you've gotten the most out of all of this, okay? So there's 3 things I need you to do. I need you to get into a quiet room if you're not already. If you're watching this on your phone, go sit yourself down in the bedroom, put your headphones on, close the door, and turn your cell phone off. Turn the Facebook off, the Twitter, the social media tabs. You're with me over the next hour. Get off of YouTube. Get back over here. Tell your family that you're busy. You have class for the next hour. I'm going to make sure to stay within that time limit. It's not going to be more than an hour. And the third and final thing is get out a pen and paper. There are going to be a lot of notes that you're going to want to take, a lot of information. I'm going to break this down for you step by step. So at the end, if you take the good notes and you understand what's going on, you're going to have a formula that you can use and sit down the next time you're using Maschine and plug and play this formula. Okay, so for those of you that don't know me, or maybe you're new to my site, you're new to my book, you just heard about me. I am just a huge fan of hip hop. That's me on the screen. It's kind of a picture from a few years ago from one of my videos, in case it looks like a mugshot or something. But I'm just a huge fan of hip hop. I bought Maschine like 5 years ago because I wanted to follow in the footsteps of my favorite producers, guys like Dilla and Pete Rock and Q-Tip and all the greats. I bought Maschine for that reason, because I wanted to do what they did. I wanted to learn how to sample and make beats like they do. And obviously it wasn't as easy as I thought it would be. Just like I'm sure it's not as easy as you thought it would be. Once you got Maschine, there's a lot of information that you just don't know. Okay, so I'm trying to sit down at Maschine and recreate this sound, and I'm left with all these questions. Okay, like, where do you even get samples from? Like, why do you have to spend so much money on samples? What type of music should I even be trying to sample? First of all, should I be trying to sample gospel or rock music or what? Like, what should I be listening for? How do I get samples into Maschine once I actually find something worthwhile? How do I get a sample into Maschine so that I can make a beat out of it? Or how do I chop these samples up and actually make a beat out of them once I am actually able to get them into Maschine? Like, what's the technique that I use? What am I trying to listen for in order to determine what pieces I'm going to chop up? How do you, if you're on a more advanced level, and once I get all this stuff down, I couldn't figure out how do I get my drums and sample to sound right correctly. So how do I get them in time? How do they make them sound good together? Okay, so I wanted to make hip hop music. I got the Maschine, but I'm sure like a lot of you are right now, I was stuck in a position where I didn't know what to do. All right. It took me almost 4 years to deconstruct everything, to reverse engineer the entire process. But now I'm making really good beats. Let me see if I can play one for you. So let's go ahead and grab that. So this is something I made a little bit while back. I'm going to make sure that you guys can actually hear this. And if you can't hear this, that is my fault. I'll go ahead and send you this file at the end of the webinar so that you can sort of hear what I've been able to do with this formula. Okay, so I'm not totally sure if that came through in the interface, little technical issue, but I'll throw the file over to you at the end of this webinar so you can sort of hear what I'm working with. All right, so basically tonight I'm going to share with you that blueprint that I've developed over the last 5 years so that I could finally get to the point where I understand how to sample on Maschine. This is what I've used to get to the point where I instantly know what I'm looking for when I go digging on the internet. I know what sound I'm listening to or listening for. I know what genre, I know what artist I'm looking for. I can even tell at this point, just based upon the cover of the record, of whether or not it's going to have something that I like. Okay, so I've been able to work out a formula to where I know instantly what to listen for, how to throw it on Maschine, what points I'm going to chop up, how I'm going to flip it into a beat, how I can get everything aligned properly, and then how to take that bare bones sample and drums to a full and complete beat. Tonight, I'm going to break down that process for you and give you that blueprint so that you can do the exact same thing. Sound cool? All right, so let's move on to that. The struggle tonight, it's done. No more struggling tonight. You're going to get these techniques. I'm going to teach you about the tools that you need in order to sample from the web without an audio interface, the free resources and things that you should be using, all of that. And by the end of tonight, you're going to have that aha moment where your mind is going to unlock. And you're going to finally realize, okay, that's what these people are doing. That's what Dilla did, or that's what Q-Tip did in order to create this song. This is how you do that. All right. So that's what this means for you tonight. So the struggle is over for you. All right. So you ready? Does this sound good? All right. Well, let's get started. So over the next 50 minutes, let's promise that we're going to pay close attention. There might be a few more technical issues. Don't worry, don't panic. Just know that that's normal and we'll get things right back on track. So if you see my screen go blank or something, I'll be back in a second. All right. So let's jump into the first step. The first step is how to get $1,000 worth of samples for free using my secret little hiding spot. And it's not that big of a secret. It's YouTube. Okay. A lot of people don't understand that you can jump on YouTube and start exploring a huge pool of music and records that aren't available in the record stores near you. I don't know about you guys, but I'm in Gainesville, Florida. There's just a limited amount of records that you can get in record stores here. You have a few options. You can go to thrift shops. You can go to one of two record stores here. And for the most part, most of the record stores have really corny ass music, like mostly rock and, not really great stuff. They don't really have soul. They really don't have funk. They really have, older R&B music from like the 70s, the type of stuff that I'm looking for. So this is why I use YouTube. You can find your own flavor of music that you're attracted to. And basically that's what I'm interested in. I'm interested in using YouTube as a resource to get access to the things that I previously couldn't get access to. I don't want to take 30 minutes to drive to a record store. And I know a lot of you purists right now, a lot of the types of people that are purists to the hip hop as an art, or purists to hip hop as an art, are against YouTube and sampling from the internet. And I can understand the reasons why. I know you say the sample quality is less. You say that buying records in the feel of vinyl and the sound is better. But for the sake of all of us in this room tonight, for the sake of everyone else, if you don't know how to chop records yet, if you don't know what you're listening for, if you're a complete newbie and beginner to Maschine, or an intermediate that doesn't really have the skills to do this right now, I say that this is the best place to start. This is where you can get your feet wet. This is where you can get your practice reps in, and then maybe eventually you can graduate to spending $10 on a record. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about what I'm actually looking for when I'm sampling on YouTube. What am I trying to search for? What am I trying to get at? All right, so this is basically my criteria. I'm looking for specific years of records, okay? I'm looking for specific decades. I don't want records from the 50s. I don't want records from the 30s. I don't want records from the 60s even, or the 80s. I'm specifically looking for records in the late 1970s. It's like 1976, 1977, 1978, 79, maybe some stuff from the early 80s, depending upon the band. And the reason for that being is this is the time in the history of music in which the idea that the art of recording music, the instrumentation, the sound of music, and had developed to the point where, in my opinion, it was at its peak. In the late 80s, you start to get a lot of, in the 80s, excuse me, you start to get a lot of early disco and more synthesized music. That was the advent of the synthesizer. And it was very new to a lot of the producers that were making beats in the early 80s. So it sounds kind of cheesy, in my opinion, a lot of early 80s music. And a lot of 60s music really doesn't have that funk and that sound that I'm looking for. It really doesn't have the instrumentation and the skill that I'm looking for. So the 70s is a good period for me just because I like more trippy type stuff. I guess if you guys don't already know, the 70s is a huge era. I'm sure a lot of you were born in the 70s, but for those of the younger audience out there, the 70s was an era full of drugs and experimentation, and I guess it was different in the sense that people were willing to make new stuff that didn't exist before. They were willing to break the mold and create new things. And that's why I love 70s music, is because their mottos, the way they lived life, was reflected in the type of music that they made. It's really different. It's really interesting. So that's what I'm looking for. That's what I recommend you start to search for as well. Genres, specifically, like I said, I'm looking for funk music. I'm looking for early R&B music. I'm looking for soul music. All right. Maybe even like prog rock and some really trippy type rock music that's really spacey and heavily delayed and far out there. Those are the types of music that I'm listening for, specifically to just because that type of music has the elements that are worthy of sampling. Okay, I'm looking for specific instruments as well. All right, so if you see on a record, you start to hear like I don't know, like an accordion or something, or some goofy sounding acoustic guitar, maybe. Like sometimes that can turn out well, but I'm looking for more synthesizers. I'm looking for bass riffs. I'm looking for hard drums. I'm looking for maybe a distorted guitar, electric guitar. So I'm listening for specific instruments, and pretty instantly I can sort of tell, or even electric piano as well. That's also really like Rhodes and Wurlitzers and those types of things. I'm listening for that type of music. Typically, if people are using a certain type of instrument, that can sort of lead you in the right direction. All right. I'm looking for specific artists as well. So BT Express or different types of funk bands. There's tons and tons of different bands that you can sample, tons of different groups that you can derive some samples from, artists that you've never heard of. Okay. And they're all on YouTube. All right. And it makes it really easy. I know you guys know the related videos aspect of YouTube. It makes it really easy to start to discover new and relevant artists that you've never even heard of before, just based upon YouTube's recommendations. So it makes it really easy for you to discover new things and open your mind to new music. Also, I'm looking for cool album covers. You can see that as number 5. All right. I'm looking for album covers that are reflective of the type of artists who made this. Okay. So that's really important. you look at the album cover, and if it looks creative, then there's probably some creative music on there. You know, if you look at the album artwork and like, dang, this is kind of interesting looking, or like, what the hell is he's sitting with like a mink coat on behind like a wicker chair, and he's got a pimp hat on? That might be cool as hell, you know? So check that out. Just start to pay attention to those elements, all right? And this can also carry forward when you're looking and start to crate dig in the traditional sense. You'll start to be able to recognize patterns and know your own style, know the things that you're looking for, and that's important, okay? So, and also, guys, this is something that you need to write down. So if you have your pen and paper close, I need you to write this down right now. This is something that a lot of people don't think of, but it's really, really an important part of things that I'm looking for as well. I look for a lot of sample synthesizer demos on YouTube. So I'm sure you guys are aware of synthesizers, right? Like Moog synthesizers or Roland synthesizers, or maybe like the Prophet 5 synthesizer. There are all these great synthesizers out there that are part of music history. And basically, a lot of people put demo videos up on YouTube where they're demonstrating the different sounds that these synthesizers are capable of. You know, like maybe they'll play a little riff, play a cool bass line, maybe in like a Moog sub-fatty or monophonic synthesizer. And basically what I like to do is rip these videos, or the audio from these videos, these synthesizer demos, and you get all these cool sounds. There's like $1,000 synthesizers that you don't have to buy yet. You know, you can sort of get their sounds and flip them into your own beats on Maschine by using and downloading these synthesizer demos. So there's really awesome sounds that you're able to get, you know, without having to buy a $3,000 synthesizer. You can sort of get their sounds and also get somebody to play cool chords, cool bass lines for you if that's something that you're not capable of at this moment. It makes it really, really interesting. You know, there's a lot of cool stuff that you can find. So I would get together a list of synthesizers that you're interested in, and maybe start searching for synthesizer demos on YouTube, and you can find a lot of different synthesizer demos with really cool sounds that you can use to sample on Maschine. You can rip the YouTube video. I'll show you how to do all of this a little bit later. So don't worry, I'll show you exactly how to get these off of YouTube. But you can rip these videos and get them inside of the audio inside of your Maschine, chop them up, flip into cool beats. So that's something that you need to write down. Make sure you try that. All right, so for those of you that are still at this point, maybe you don't realize what you should be listening for when you're choosing samples. Like maybe you find a cool song, but you don't know whether or not that it would be a cool sample. You know, you don't know if this could turn into a cool beat. So what should you be listening for when you're choosing your samples in order to decide if something is worth your time or not? All right, and that's what I'm about to talk about right now. This is what I'm listening for when I'm choosing my samples. I can only talk about that. I'm looking for open elements of a song. Okay, that includes like a lot of songs have breakdowns or instrument solos, or in the beginning they'll maybe have a portion of the song where they might play a few chords, a few notes on a piano, you know, a riff of a bass guitar or a riff on an electric guitar. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for open elements without drums and a whole bunch of sounds or vocals and anything layered over them, so that I can then take those different open elements, as I like to call them, those instrument solos, and chop them up into little pieces based on the notes. I'll show you how to do that a little bit later, and then flip them using Maschine. All right, so open elements meaning elements of a sample song in which there are not vocals, someone talking over that, or no drums played over it. That makes it really easy to chop and flip. You know, so if they have cool sounds, if it's a cool genre of music, they're using cool instruments, then I find open elements and flip them. This is the number one way, the number one thing that I'm looking for is open elements. Okay, the next is stabs. And those are very similar to open elements, but the difference is that they're big hits, and there might be multiple instruments being played at once. And like a crescendo, I don't know if that's the right word, but big hits aligned with drums sometime. So it's not an individual instrument being played at once. It's like a dramatic portion of the beat. And you can sample that as well. So that's also a thing to be looking for. And also chords. Okay, chords are also something very interesting that you can do a lot with in terms of sampling. So chords, by that I mean like piano chords. So if you have a song with an electric piano, like a Rhodes piano or a Wurlitzer or something like that, typically they'll have some sort of breakdown in which there'll be the pianist or the keyboardist, will be playing some chords. All right, so that's typically something that you can really chop up. So the three things that you're looking for are open elements, stabs, and chords. Okay, those are super important. And write this down also, because this is going to be controversial, and especially to the hip hop purists out there. I advise against not looping. Okay, so a lot of you are saying you missed out loops. A lot of hip hop is based upon loops, especially hip hop from like the 90s. You listen to most Notorious B.I.G. songs, or like a lot of Tupac songs, or a lot of Jay-Z songs. A lot of those songs, those classic albums that were made back in the 90s, were made off of loops. Okay, as producers, I advise you against looping. This is controversial, just because, one, the legal implications. Most artists don't have the budget to be able to clear samples and actually release looped music. All right, you have to go to the original artist and get clearance for those samples. A lot of people don't want to work with that headache. They'd rather have original beats built from scratch. Okay, loops also, in my opinion, as a producer, they're not creative enough for me. When you're looping, your mindset turns into finding interesting things in old music, as opposed to finding interesting things in old music and then flipping it into something totally unique and different. So replaying, the same 4 bars like a DJ would, or something like a turntablist would, is not really interesting, in my opinion, anymore. It's already been done. So I'm looking to do something a little bit different. I advise against not looping. All right, so 4 bars of a song played over and over again is just not interesting to me. And I advise against you doing that as well. All right, so let's move on. So once you have something worthy of sampling, once you follow those last directions and found some open notes, some open chords and things, how do you actually get a song off of YouTube and organize it and get it into your machine? How do you download samples from YouTube, get them in your machine? All right, this is where it gets interesting. Download these songs in an MP3 format using this website called HD Transform. Okay, hdtransform.com, write that down. You can basically just throw in a YouTube URL, and it'll allow you to rip the audio from the video, and you're just left with the audio. So if you find a record that you like, you can throw it on HD Transform. It'll allow you to download a high quality version of that sound or that song. Again, it's not going to be lossless audio like, so I'm sure some of you purists are going to say that the audio quality is not going to be good. It's going to be good enough to make some beats out of. All right, so don't worry about that right now. Worry about being able to create great music. All right, worry about getting these reps in, if you will. Okay, so basically use HD Transform to just plug in the URL of the YouTube video that you want. Maybe you got that synth demo. You throw it into the box at hdtransform.com, and it downloads it directly to your computer. All right, and also I just want to let you know that you should create a dedicated folder on your computer for your samples. All right, and it's important that you do not move this folder around. So maybe save it in a place that's not your desktop, that won't be, messed around with. And the reason being is because once you have a project going in Maschine, you have samples saved in a specific place, the way that Maschine works is it's going to go look for these samples in that specific place. And if you move them later on down the line, it's going to make a whole bunch of headache for you. So maybe save off a specific folder somewhere where you will not move it. Keep it consistent, and set up a dedicated folder for your samples, and then organize it by month. I'll have a specific folder on my desktop that says samples, that does not ever move. Within that folder, I'll have a month of March folder. I have a March, April, May, June, July. And within the month of March, every sample that I download from hdtransform.com and YouTube gets saved in that March folder. It just keeps things organized, helps you keep a tab on what's going on where. Don't dump everything in the same folder. Just keep yourself organized. It makes it a lot easier in the end. All right, so whenever you find a good sample using those techniques, go to hdtransform.com and plug it up. All right, the next step is, once you actually have some samples to work with, the next step is to actually get your sample and your song into a machine readable format. meaning that you want to get everything into Maschine right now, because H2 Transform is going to download things into an MP3 format. Maschine does not read MP3s. You're going to have to convert it into a WAV file format, and you're going to use a program called Audacity to do that. So go ahead and write this down as well. Go to Audacity, type that in Google, download it, and basically it's going to allow you to open your MP3 files that you just downloaded, and it'll look like exactly like it's displayed on the screen. It'll be a waveform, and then you can press the File Export button and allow you to export specifically into the WAV format. All right, so once you've downloaded your files, throw it into Audacity, export it into a WAV format, and you're good to go. Now you've got a file that's going to be Maschine readable. You're going to be able to use inside of Maschine. All right, so the next step, and this is also somewhat controversial because I'm sure a lot of you don't do it this way, but this is the way I recommend starting a sample-based beat. You got to put together a hard-ass drum groove first. All right, this is the key to it all. A lot of people mess up by not doing this first. Okay, jump into Maschine, and without even picking your sample yet, of all the sounds and files that you've downloaded, make sure you throw together a hard drum groove. All right, this is the one thing that everybody gets wrong. Create a hard drum groove before you do anything. You want the drum groove that has you vibing, has your head moving, has you nodding your head and feeling yourself before you jump in and throw together stuff as far as the sampling goes. Because if the drums are already solid even before you start the sample, that's like 70% of the work right there. Their drums are going to carry the beat. They're going to make the listener, they're going to grab the listener's attention. They're going to carry the energy of whatever you do afterwards. So it's important that you get that right first. And it makes everything else very easy to fall in place once you've got some hard drums. Okay? So once you've got the drums taken care of, now it's time to sample. Okay? This is how you can basically listen to a sample that you've downloaded and instantly know the best way to chop it and flip it over this drum groove that you have working. All right. So you've already downloaded some samples, possibly using YouTube and that H2 Transform. Now you've got a drum groove going. After you've made that drum groove, what I typically do is just press play on that drum groove. I'll let it loop over and over again. I'll just sit there and sort of vibe out to it for a little bit. And then I'll open up that folder that I just created of the WAV files that I converted using Audacity. And then I'll audition some samples over top that drum loop. Okay, so I'll take that drum loop, I'll start to listen to samples over that to start to pay attention to see if there's anything that sort of gels with me and catches my attention. You'll start to hear in those open elements, if they exist in the sample that you got, if you did a good job of choosing that, you'll start to hear, okay, this matches. So let me go ahead and grab that and make a beat out of this. So I typically let the sample play out a little bit so that I can hear the vibe of the sample and see if it matches with the energy of the drums that I made, and then sort of do things that way. So that's all about auditioning your samples. So how do you decide next what to chop? Once you've got, all right, I want to use this sample, what portion of the record do you actually take and flip over your drum groove that you just made? So once you found something that vibes with your drum loop, basically you have to figure out what portion of the song you want to flip. And like I said, you're listening for a section that is open, basically. So those solos or those stab notes that exist, or maybe if you did the thing that I recommended and sampled the synthesizer demos with no other instruments layered on top of it at all, makes it very easy for you to sample. You have basically, you're searching for those individual notes that you can chop up and grab from an instrument to put on your machine. All right, that's my way of doing things. You don't necessarily have to do that, but this is the way I'm going to teach you. Okay, so that's how I typically decide what to chop and flip. Once I'm listening to a section, I basically find those stab notes, I find those solos, and then I truncate off every other part other than that solo, and then get that into Maschine. That's the way that I typically do things. All right, so the next step number 5 is flip that portion that you just chopped off and put it into a beat. All right. This involves, so you have your waveform, whatever sample that you decided to choose, and you have your sample, you have your drum groove going. Write this down because this is the thing that makes everything a million times easier. It's going to seem like common sense, and it really is, but this is the one thing that people people get wrong when they're trying to follow this process. From the sampled section that you just pull out, from that solo, or there's individual notes or those chords or those stabs or whatever, you're going to chop the individual notes and put them on their own individual pads. Okay, so if you did the right thing and found a sample with chords on it, maybe it's like 10 different chords of like a little solo that the keyboardist has. You want to chop up each one of those individual chords, those chord waveforms, and put them on their own individual pads. All right? That's the key to this all. Let me repeat this one more time because some of you did not write this down. All right? It's going to seem like common sense, and it really is. You got your drum groove. You figured out the best sample. You chose the right sample because it has open sections in it in which there are instruments playing, specifically like chords of like a synthesizer or something like that. You grab the chords, you've truncated out the end sections. You've got only those that section in Maschine. You've got your drum groove. You're going to chop up each one of those individual notes using the sample mode on Maschine. You're going to put each one of those individual chords or notes on their own individual pads. Okay, let me take a drink of water really quick. Okay, so let me repeat that one more time. On their own individual pads. That should be like a mind blown type thing for you. You should be like, oh, damn, that makes sense now. The whole point is this makes it so much easier to be creative at this point. You've got a drum groove. You've got an instrument. You've got 8 different notes to choose from because you put them on their pads like I told you to. And basically, you can play each one of those individual notes in any format and function that you want, any way that you want, and you've got a winner. All right, you've got 8 notes. It makes it very easy to create something new. It makes it very easy to be creative. You've got them on their own individual pads. You can play them pretty much in any order that you like. You just have to find something that sounds best now. It's like putting the pieces together on a puzzle. You know the shit fits together, so now it just becomes figuring out the best way to do it. All right, figure out how you're going to do that. All right, so that makes it very simple, right? So get every note on each individual pad. You're playing the drum groove over again and just sort of play around with it. So this is also a portion of this process that doesn't make sense to a lot of people. The timing. All right. So now that you've figured out a way to make your drums and your samples groove correctly. So say that your drum groove or whatever is at 82 BPM. That's how you started the project. You want your sample that you just made or those notes to get as close to that timing as possible. And you do that by using the pitch on each individual sound. All right. You can pitch it before you start to chop it up, meaning that once you have that huge chunk of the beat that you truncated out, that solo, you can basically reduce or tune it down so that you don't have to do it on each individual note. It makes it a little bit easier. And basically what you're trying to do is get the timing to closely resemble the timing of the drum groove. It doesn't have to be perfect if you do it the way of grabbing notes and chords, because you don't really have to worry about the BPM aligning perfectly. You can just make sure that the sound sort of fits. All right. So that gives you a lot more wiggle room to do that. All right. But yeah, the timing is another important thing. And if you follow that process, timing won't be very much of an issue. Now, this is the fun part. All right. So you've got the notes on the pads. You've got the stabs or the chords or the individual notes on their own individual pads, like I said, on Maschine. Maybe you've got 8 different notes to work with. You've got a drum groove. Now all you got to do is play these different combinations of chords and notes to sort of figure out what sounds best to you. Play them like you would any other instrument. You've essentially got an instrument on your hands with 8 different notes to choose from. You know they're going to be in tune, meaning that the artists that played them, you know, they have some sort of understanding of music theory, or they know what sounds good. So the 8 notes that they played are going to align and be cohesive with one another. So all you have to do is play different combinations of those notes, figure out what sounds good. Maybe you can play it with a little bit different timing. You could play a little bit funkier or something like that. And you've got the foundation of something great. It makes it very easy. And typically what I do is I experiment with the order that I'm playing them in. I play around like this for a while, okay? But that aspect of it makes it very easy, all right? It's that simple, you guys. That simple. So Now, basically, it's time to produce the rest of the beat. You've got a basic sample, kick, snare, hi-hat, maybe some toms or whatever, maybe a little bit layered kick drum sounds or snare drum sounds if you're a little bit more advanced. But that's just basically the bare bones of a beat. That's just the basic structure of the beat. You've got maybe the verse sample melody or the verse sample sequence that you want to work with. You got a drum sequence for the verse. Now you actually have to build the beat. You got to take things to the next level. And what I typically do is at this point, I'll add more instrumentation. I'll add a bass line, a synthesizer, or something to carry the upper harmonics. Maybe throw on Massive and figure out a cool preset that might align, or Monarch or something like that if you own Complete. And basically, it's involved finding a different element to fill out the track with to further improve your sound. Okay, so you've got the basic bare bones. Now it's time to upgrade it. All right. Typically, I'm looking to add as few elements as possible and have the most results out of each one of those elements. I'm listening and looking for a bass line or a bass sound that sounds really good, a synthesizer that sounds right, so that I don't overproduce my song. I don't want 15 million different sounds or 15 different sounds. I want maybe 8 very solid sounds played well in the beat. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for, more instrumentation. Maybe at this point, I'd further improve the drum sounds by layering a little bit more, maybe doing a little bit more creative EQing, or maybe adding some new drum patterns to switch up at some points, maybe add some different fills at some point or something to produce up the drums sounds a little bit more. But that's basically it. I'm trying to figure out what elements can I add in addition to my basic sample and my basic drums to build this beat further. Okay, so the next aspect, the next thing that I'll go towards, this is probably step 10 or so. It's about the mixing of the beat. So mixing is about using Maschine to basically make sure that everything can be heard properly. I know a lot of you are using DAWs out there, but Maschine, as you can see, is a great mixing platform. It makes it very easy for you to twist knobs, add the basic effects that you need, and get your beat like 90% of the way there before you bounce it out to a DAW. It makes it very tactile and very hands-on for you to just switch knobs and get together the basic foundation of your beat all inside the same platform. So the first thing that I do when I'm mixing a beat is balance all the volume levels. Okay, I make sure that everything can be heard properly. I'll pan, I'll increase or decrease the volume, typically decrease. I'll EQ to carve out space. I'll get the balance correct so that each sound can occupy its own slice of frequencies and its own place in the stereo field in order to make sure that it can be heard properly. Okay, so mixing is a whole thing within itself. I'm not going to go into too much detail about it, but it's just basically the creative use of your EQ, of your panning, of your volume controls, of your compressors to make sure that everything can be heard properly. And then there's also the creative aspect of mixing, which is basically like your distortion, your saturation, your lo-fi to add more harmonics to sounds. But that's a little bit more complicated stuff. And I can't get into all that tonight. So the next aspect after you've got the mix taken care of, after you've built it up with more instrumentation, is taking care of the arrangement. All right. So the arrangement is basically about using Maschine's building blocks, which is patterns, scenes, and sounds to arrange all these different elements that you've just created into an actual beat. And this is to add variation to your track, to bring in elements at certain points, to take out elements at certain points, add some automation to your mix to keep the sound evolving. All right. So that's basically it. We talked about adding more instrumentation, the mix, and the arrangement as well. That's the next level of production that you want to do after you've just gotten the drums and the sample together. So let's recap. Talk about what you just learned. We talked about first finding great records and how to use YouTube to do that. Specifically, what to listen for on YouTube, and how to basically decipher the junk. So going in there knowing specifically what to look for. We talked about 70s music, specific types of genres of music. Get an idea of the artist that you want to sample. I talked about also sampling synthesizer demo videos. I showed you how to download the samples using hdtransform.com and then converting that sample, that MP3 from the MP3 that you get from hdtransform.com, and then converting it into a wave so that you can throw it into your Maschine. I talked about how putting together a hard drum groove is the foundation of every great sample-based beat, in my opinion. Why you need to do that first and why you need to make sure that you have hard drums before you move on to anything else. Fourth, we talked about auditioning your sample over your groove to make sure that you can align the vibe of your sample with the vibe of your drums and the energy of your drums, and finding cool elements within that sample in order to flip it using Maschine. And then I told you how to flip that portion into a beat by finding those chords, those instruments, solos, the individual notes that you can chop up and put on specific pads and then play in the order that you want to play them. That makes it very easy for you to create a sample-based beat. We also talked about how to take things to the next level, all right? And that also involved filling out the beat with more instruments and more sounds, mixing everything using Maschine's effects, arranging everything so that it's interesting to listen to, and getting down into the nitty-gritty of that. We talked about panning, we talked about balance, we talked about controlling the volume, filling out the beat with as little sounds as possible, but as many as you need to make it interesting. And then how to arrange everything using the scenes, patterns, and sounds to sort of take in and bring out elements at certain points to make everything more interesting to listen to. Okay, so as promised earlier, I'm going to show you in a minute the way that you can get your copy of the audiobook version of my book for free, just as a thank you for attending this webinar. Like I said, it's about 3 hours worth of audio lessons, brand new content of me teaching you the foundational elements of sampling on Maschine, of creating awesome drum grooves. I even go into detail about mixing, specifically how to use the creative effects within Maschine, the things that we talked about like compression, distortion, saturation. I'll show you how to use all of that. And it's all broken down into audio lessons that you can throw onto your phone and listen to as you work out or drive to work or whatever. All right, but first it's important that you understand why I'm going to give you this audiobook today. Basically, over the past year, I've been putting together a library of video lessons that show you exactly how professional producers are making album quality beats on Maschine. Show you the details of all the things that I talked about tonight in an actual session on Maschine, so you can watch me work. Okay, the lessons that I put together include the techniques, the vocabulary, the tools that you need to buy, links to all of the resources that you need to get yourself to a professional level of understanding of production, of audio engineering, and of comfortability on Maschine. But what if I told you that I have created a step-by-step series of video lessons where you can look over my shoulder as I show you exactly what's going on in detail, how to do all this stuff in Maschine. I'm talking about the strategies, the techniques, everything that you need to know, so that you can basically just sit down and watch and listen to what I'm doing on Maschine and know exactly what to do first, second, third, fourth, and so on, to basically automatically bust out creative beats on Maschine without even having to think about what to do. I mean, you paid $500, maybe $1,000 for your Maschine. Wouldn't it be awesome to finally clear up the confusion about Maschine so that you could finally learn exactly what you need to know in order to make great beats using this thing? Wouldn't that help you take your music and your music career to the next level so that you could finally put beats out there that are worthy of being bought by other people, you know, so that you can work with the artists that you want to work with or make music for your next DJ set or something like that? Doesn't that get you excited? I mean, that type of stuff gets me excited, obviously. So a lesson that we put together for this program was a video lesson that shows you step-by-step all of the details about sampling on Maschine. I show you in a session on Maschine, you get to look over my shoulder. I went in depth into showing you exactly how I get thousands of dollars worth of records for free through YouTube. I break down pretty much everything. So when you sit down with me, I break down the entire process of what to listen for in order to find great records to sample, what genres of music to sample, like I said, what to listen for, what piques my interest, and then how to flip that record into a dope beat on Maschine. All right? So there was another lesson that we put together very recently with a very well-known audio engineer. And in this lesson, we went into depth into the best ways to mix hip-hop and electronic beats using the Maschine platform, so that once you're ready to actually bounce your machines, bounce the beats that you're making in Maschine out into your DAW, whether you use Pro Tools or whatever, that your beat is basically 90% of the way there already. He basically revealed his entire formula for creating high quality mixes using cutting edge audio engineering techniques to basically make your mixes and machines sound like they were made in $1 million studios using all those free plugins that came with your machine, like the compressor, the EQ, the saturation, the distortion, the delay, the flanger, all of that stuff. Break down how to use that stuff inside of this program. Doesn't that sound awesome? Wouldn't you love to see exactly what the professionals are doing on Maschine? All right. Now, I've mentioned that these are just a few of the lessons that we've done, let alone like there are 30 other lessons that are just sitting there on the site full of great information, just as good as the stuff that I just described. All right. And a few weeks ago, actually, I had my assistant go and find all of the video lessons and the recordings of the online workshops that I've done in the past, just like this one that you're on right now. And previously, they were just sitting there, I guess, collecting dust. I had her upload them to the site. And for the first time ever, we're releasing all this stuff to the public. Okay. And the good news is today we're letting a few folks into this Beat School program to take it for a test drive for free. You heard me correctly, for free. 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 Let me say that again. Tonight, for the first time, we're experimenting with this process. This is just like a little marketing thing that we're doing. We're allowing new members to sign up tonight and try the program out for free for 7 days to decide if the program is for them or not. And by signing up tonight, I'm going to hook you up with the free download of the audiobook version of that book that we just talked about, which is worth $40. This is the thank you for taking this Beat School program for a test drive. So let me recap. By signing up tonight, here's what you're going to get. You're going to get the audiobook version of the book that we talked about. It's worth $40. Beat School program access. Previously, people have paid $300 to get into this program in the past, okay? Tonight you're getting to try this program for free. That's pretty crazy. All right? You're getting all the past recordings of events that we've done. You're going to get to be on live calls that we do in the future. You're going to be able to ask questions live. And lastly, you're going to be able to mix and mingle in a private group that we have for our members. All this together is a total value of $336. And like I said, tonight, to get started, you're going to be able to do it for free. All right? So to get started, just click the button below my video right now. If you're on YouTube, I need you to go back to the regular site. There's going to be a button that appeared below, and it's going to take you to a sign-up page where you're going to be able to enter your name and your payment information to start your 7-day trial. And I'm going to add a download of that $40 book to the members area. Like I said, for free. It's a $40 audiobook version of the book, and you can get started tonight. Basically, I'm also going to send you a quick email with the login details here in the next 15 minutes to make sure you're on the lookout for that email. Again, to get access today to the Beat School program, click the big button below. You're going to enter your name and your payment information on the next page, and it'll be up and running on the site within a few minutes. All right. And the thing is, there's no contracts at all. There's no strings attached to the 7-day trial. So you can watch the videos. You can check out all the content in the site. See if it's for you. See if you enjoy my teaching style. See if the content is as great as I say it is. And after the 7 days, if you don't like what you see, if you don't enjoy the program, if it's not as great as I say it is, you won't be charged. Okay. Just call me directly at 314-853-2202 and your card will not be charged. All right. Or, you know what, you can even email me directly at rob@hiphoprallybeatschool.com. All right. I'm incredibly confident that you'll love all this content. You'll love the calls. You'll love the way that I break down Maschine and make things very simple for you to understand and see results in your music and your sound. Okay. I've done this. Hundreds of people are in this program right now. I have been teaching this for the last 3 years. I'm confident that I'm the best teacher on the web for Maschine and audio production. That's period. If you ask any of my students, they will corroborate. They have bought the $1,000 DubSpot course. They have bought courses on other sites, lynda.com, protoots.com, machinetutorials.com, all of them. And they all say that I offer the best course for the best value. All right. Like I said, I've charged $300 for this opportunity for other people in the past. If you love this program, if you love the way that I break things down, simply do nothing after you sign up. You can stay a member for just $38.60 a month, just as tuition for this program. Again, there are no contracts. There are no obligations. You can cancel anytime in the future. Okay? Does that sound like a deal? Do nothing, $38 a month. Very cheap, very simple. All right. So let's get you signed up. Click the button below. Like I said, if you're on YouTube, go back to the site to get access to this. Click the button below, enter your name and your information, start your 7-day trial, get your free audiobook version of this book. Like I said, it retails for $40. And right now I'm going to open up the webinar for questions. In order to submit questions, like I said a little bit earlier, you're going to have to do it through YouTube. So I know you see in the bottom right-hand corner of this video that's playing right now, there's a YouTube thing hovering. Click that. You'll be taken to the YouTube site where you can enter in your questions in the comments, and I'll go ahead and get to answering those. All right. So I'll let it take a minute for you guys to formulate your questions. If you have questions about the program or about Maschine in general, about sampling, anything that you want answered, I'm going to open up for a quick question and answer section right now. I know we're just under an hour. Let's jump and do this for about 15 minutes. All right, let me take a quick drink of water, you guys, as we start this Q&A thing. So some of you guys are saying that you're not actually in the regular room, you're just in the Hangout. So I'm going to go ahead and give you the URL that you can use to sign up using this deal. So do not check out using the regular site. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to access this deal. This is only available to people who check out through the link for the webinar. You'll only be able to access it that way. So I'm going to go ahead and throw that on YouTube as well. So if you guys can upvote that, you can sort of get access that way. I'm gonna throw this in the comments in YouTube, you guys. So if you see my post, upvote that so that people can see the link. It should be in the top comments or the most recent comments. So someone asked, I'm not good at playing drums. Are drum loops or breaks okay to use as opposed to just building drum grooves from scratch? Yeah, they're okay to use. It makes it a little bit easier to start. If you're going to use drum grooves or drum loops, I would recommend if you're going to loop, say like a bar or 4 bars loops, I would recommend at the very least layering sounds underneath it. Like maybe you'll layer an 808 underneath the kick drum, chop it up, for example, and then do it that way. So if you're using drum loops, I would start with that. Start by chopping these breaks that you're using into the individual hits, and maybe you can replay them that way and then layer sounds underneath them. Or if you're just going to loop the 1 bar, I would recommend layering additional sounds just to sort of beef up the drum loop, just because it can typically be get a little bit dull if all you're using is a regular drum loop. And then also you can use effects, sort of, I don't know, typically like maybe like an EQ to bring out the lower end, maybe like around 40 hertz to your drum loop. And that sort of makes it a little bit easier as well. So Christian's asking, I'm confused on the payment after 7 days and we feel like it's right for us. We don't have to pay. So Christian, after 7 days, you're going to be charged $38.60. All right. So it's very cheap. Typically, people in the past have had to pay $300 to get into the program. So you have 7 days, basically. You enter in your credit card information tonight. You have 7 days to check out the program to see if it's right for you. If within those 7 days you decide that you don't like the program, you can basically email me or call me directly, and I'll make sure that your card isn't charged if you don't like the program. If you do like the program, just do nothing, and you'll just be billed $38.60 as basically as tuition for the program, okay? Franklin's asking, let me see. 1 second. So for all of you that don't see the actual link on the site, if you're not watching this from the actual site, I am posting the link inside of the YouTube comments. All right. So if you're on YouTube watching this live stream, within the comment section, you're going to see a message from Robert Stevenson. I'm going to post the link that you can sign up through in the comments section. Sing is saying, why not use Soundflower in an internal sampler on Maschine instead of additional steps with Audacity and HD Transform? Sing, Soundflower is something that you can definitely use. The only issue is that, in my opinion, is that it does not, like, you have to sample directly into Maschine. I would rather have the entire audio file so that I can do things with it later. If I don't feel like, for example, if I just want a portion of a song that I'm getting from Soundflower, for some reason I like having the entire record and not just an audio clip that I might get from Soundflower. If you guys aren't familiar with Soundflower is basically a tool that you can use to sample in Maschine off of your own internal sound card on your computer. All right. It is a pretty cool tool. You know, if you're listening to Spotify or something, or anything that's playing through your speakers on your computer, you can sample that. So that's something that you can check out as well. I just don't follow that personal method. Okay. From all of you, let me refresh this page. Guys, we'll just stay on until all the questions are answered. I don't know how many of you Fresh DJ says, Rob, I was a founding member. I cannot access the site any longer. Reply to me right now. Hold on 1 second. For any of you that are already founding members, I will throw you access to the site, of course. Feel free to email me directly, and we'll hook that up. So for all of you that are still in the room, I think that's Saul. Saul said, thanks, Rob. I appreciate it, man. Sing, I think I answered your question. Just to be more clear, the downside, in my opinion, is that you don't have the entire file, okay? And that, for me, is something that I don't like. Like, for example, if I was to sample directly from Soundflower, I would probably sample the exact section that I like. You don't have to do this, but once you sample from Soundflower, the actual sound that you're getting is going to be inside of the Maschine platform, so that later when you want access to maybe that same sample, you're not able to get it. It's not in a file on your computer. It's within Maschine in that specific project. So that's sort of a downside to that. There are probably ways around that. Maybe I'm not aware of that, but I typically like to just go for a listening session. I don't want to sample directly using the Maschine. Like, I like to have I like to spend one entire night maybe listening to samples for maybe 2 hours, find about 15 or 20 samples that I'll use the entire month, download them using that process that I talked about, have them saved and converted on the Maschine, and I'll have access to those samples forever, you know? So even if I don't use them tonight, or even if I do sample them tonight, maybe I'll come back and want to resample it. And just off of my growth as a producer, I want to sample it in a different way. I'll hear something different that I wouldn't have been able to reach back and grab if I had used that other way in terms of sampling through Soundflower. All right. OnlineVideoConverter.com. I think it's Espinos11 said you can change the video format into WAV instead of MP3. Does that affect the quality if it's done on an Audacity? Guys, I would recommend using that way. You don't have to use Audacity. If there is it seems like OnlineVideoConverter.com is a way that you can download directly from YouTube to a WAV file. that cuts out one entire step that I just walked through. That's a better way to do it. So I would check out that. I wasn't aware of that before tonight, but guys, that's the hookup. OnlineVideoConverter.com. Apparently you can download directly into a Wave. Converting to Audacity or from Audacity, I don't believe that would affect the audio quality. I'm not, that technical when it comes to the science of sound, so I couldn't spell that out for you directly, but I believe that it shouldn't have too much of an effect. So guys, I don't think I was clear enough in the pricing of all this. I wasn't clear because a few of you are asking a similar question. So basically how this works is tonight, you sign up through that form that we just talked about. All right. You enter your name and your credit card information. You have the next 7 days to try this program out for free to make your decision on whether or not you want to pay for this program or not. All right. If you want to pay for this program, you do nothing. Your card is going to be charged $38.60 a month for as long as you decide to stay on. You could stay on for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, however long it takes you to complete the program. Typically, it takes about 4 months for a typical student to complete the program. So 4 months at $38.60 per month. Like I said, you can cancel at any time. There's no contracts. There's no upfront price for this program. All right. You have 7 days to decide if you want this program or not. So if you decide, you jump on the site and decide, I don't know, this dude is stupid. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Send me an email, cancel it. You will not be charged on that 7th day. So basically, this is just a 7-day evaluation period that you can have that I'm allowing you to do just to give you more of an incentive to sort of check out what I have for you and see that it's actually valuable. Because I'm confident that if you try this out, you're going to like it. So in 7 days, if you decide that you want it, you do nothing. It's $38.60 a month after that. All right. That's it. There's no huge upfront cost like there was before. Previous people had to pay $297 for this, but you can grab it for $38.60 a month. Very, very, very simple. So if that answers your question, if you have any more questions specifically about that, guys, just let me know if I'm not clear. I want to make sure that I explain things a little bit better. So hold on 1 second. Do this first. So Walter says he's subscribed a while ago and never got the ebook. Walter, yeah, I'll throw you that link right now. Christian Mitchell said, what's your email again? Christian, I'm responding to you now. rob@hiphoprallybeatschool.com. So there's no contracts, guys. No contracts on the monthly membership. You don't pay for any specific set of time. For as long as you find value in this program, you can continue paying. So you can check this program out. You can watch every video in 1 month or 2 months if you want to, and pay $39 times 1 or 2. You don't have. There's no contracts. You're not going to pay for 12 months. You pay for as long as you find value in the site. Cancel anytime. Franklin's saying, what if you don't have a credit card and my dad won't let me use his? People have asked in the past if they can sign up using PayPal, and I meant to get that set up, but I can sort of create a PayPal thing for you to allow you to check out through PayPal if you have, I don't know if some of you guys might not have credit cards or debit cards or whatever. So I can sort of hook that up for you a little bit later. And I'll make sure to respond to that a little bit later. So guys, if you have any more questions specifically about Maschine, man, just let me know. I'm an open book. I'll answer whatever questions you got. Okay, so Franklin, hopefully that answers your question. I'm gonna throw on the PayPal. Carol's asking Rob, enter your credit card information to the site, and it gives an error message that the site is unavailable. All right, Carol, I apologize for that. Let me see if I cannot jump in there and fix this. Espino says, is this a one-time offer? If I cannot make payment in 7 days, will I be able to sign up for it later at still $38 a month? Guys, this is an offer just for tonight, okay? So I will be able to offer the deal of the 7-day payment, but I'm not going to be able to give you the audiobook that's worth $40. So Ace is asking as well, where can we listen to your beats, Rob? I'm going to throw this. Let me see. I can throw this in the link on Dropbox. Maybe you can download that. So Ace, I just threw you a link to a Dropbox. You can listen to something I just made. Also the audiobook, guys. Carol. Carol, I'm sending you a message right now. If you can, call me directly and we can sort it out and give you my number. All right. Let's see. Let me refresh this again. Jerry's saying he paid for the audiobook and he does not see it. Jerry, hold on. Let me, I'm going to hook you up with the link to that as well. Tyron is saying that the website is saying that it's not available. Okay, again, damn. So guys, let me fix this really quickly. Make sure that you can check out. I apologize for this this issue. Hold on 1 second. Damn, I think I need a church rag. I'm sweating over here, y'all. Oh, 1 second. Let me check this out. Guys, if the website is saying that the page is unavailable, stick with me 1 quick second. I'm going to try to fix this really quickly. Technical difficulties. Okay, so guys, I think I got the website working. Just did a quick little update. So guys, once you check out tonight, like I said, you're going to be getting the audiobook and the ability to sign up for the site now for the 7-day trial. The audiobook, like I said, is worth $40. So that's awesome. Hold on 1 second. All right, I think I got that fixed, you guys. So if Carol and everyone else that was trying to get that to work, try one more time. Tyron said it's not. The website is saying it's not available. So Darius is saying, when sampling on Maschine, I just run a line in from my phone or music source into my interface and sample on Maschine. And how much is the Maschine manual? Darius, that works as well. You could just sample from really anything. If you have, I assume that's through your interface. I guess this process that I locked down that I was teaching is specifically for people who do not want to buy an interface, don't want to buy a DJ mixer or anything like that. But if you already own an audio interface, you have a lot of options in terms of sampling. Yeah, you can sample directly from your phone or whatever you want. So, for a lot of people, it could make sense to just throw things through the audio interface. Hey guys, let me see if we have any more questions. Darius, hopefully that answered your question. So guys that are still on, I am fixing the technical issues on the server for the site. Hold on one second. One 20. So guys, Carol and specifically Tyron, I just fixed the hosting. So you should be able to refresh the same link that you have in about 5 minutes or so. Should re-upload to the server, and you should be able to jump in and get access to everything that we just talked about. All right, so let me see if we have any more questions. Neil's asking, do I have any specific channels that I like to go and find samples? Definitely, Neil. There's a few channels. Let me link you to. I can give you a whole gang of them, actually. Specifically, I'll look for vinyl archaeology. Or here, let me just give you the links. How about that? One second. Oh. It's here. Still like, I'm like finishing up those, but you got it. Oh. I'm not sure where it is. Sorry about that, guys. Hold on. Let me look one more time. So specific channels. I'm sorry, Benil, I had to jump away real quick. Let me see. So specifically, I'd look up vinyl archaeology on YouTube, and you should be able to go through there. I would even start by looking for specific artists, and then you can jump in and sort of find individual channels that post music similar to those artists. So for example, if you look up an artist that you like say maybe BT Express or something, you might find out that somebody who uploaded that record that you listen to also has maybe 15 or 20 other records that they've uploaded that are in a similar vein to whatever sound that you're listening to. So I would try that first. Typically I just go exploring and listening to related videos on YouTube, and that really works for me in terms of finding things that I am interested in terms of finding things that I've never heard of before. YouTube does a great job of recommending new things and new sounds that are related to whatever I'm listening to, but aren't exactly, within my realm right now of things that I've heard of before. So Espino said, you chop up every note or chord into its own separate pad. Do you also truncate every note from whatever sample you're getting it from? I guess the question is, do you duplicate the original sample onto the 8 pads and then truncate each note, or how do you chop them up onto each pad? So you can chop them, you can truncate out each note, but typically I don't do that. I truncate out the section where the chords are, right? So it might be from 8 seconds until 19 seconds within the track where that maybe a little riff is going on, like the chords and the notes or whatever. I'll truncate out from 8 to 16 seconds, and then basically from within those notes I'll use Maschine. I'll jump into Maschine sampling mode and then use the edit button and adjust the start and end points to start at the beginning of that note and end at the end of the note. And then I'll duplicate that pad and then take the start and push it towards the end point of the last section and then adjust it that way. So I won't truncate out each individual note from the original sample, but I'll truncate out the melody that I want to work with from the sample overall, and that makes it a lot easier. All right, so to answer your question, I don't individually truncate each note. I just truncate out the section and then do it that way. All right, let's look for more. Carol saying she loves vinyl archaeology. It's a great place. It's a lot of obscure stuff. Also got soundtracks are really cool to sample. If you guys don't know, soundtracks are just basically like composers of real like movies and things like that. Or basically the entire soundtrack to a movie posted on an album, and you can just sort of play it and go at it that way. It's a really interesting thing to listen to. So check out soundtracks. Look for movie soundtracks on YouTube as well. So I hear my phone blowing up. If you guys would send me text as well, know that I'm going to answer it afterwards. I kind of got to pay attention to what I'm doing right now, so not to deliberately ignore you, but I'll get around that to 1 second. Chris Christian says, thanks for the video. I really appreciate the help with this. He's also a huge jazz fan. Would you recommend searching Miles Davis trumpet solo or Louis Armstrong solo? If you already know some music I'd like to sample, or just search the synthesizer demo. Christian, it's like for real. Like if there's something that you like, I would say go with that. It's just my taste is different. You know, like if you love jazz and if you're interested in jazz, sample jazz by all means. But you just have to find out what you're passionate about and what you actually enjoy listening to. Because in my situation, I'm listening to samples like all day. You know, like I'm searching around on YouTube forever. And if you're listening to a genre of music that you don't appreciate and don't actually like the actual music itself, you know, not talking about music for sampling in the sampling sense. If you don't like sitting there and listen to an entire funk song, then, you know, I wouldn't sample that just because it's going to be tedious. So if traditional jazz or Miles Davis is something that you like, then yes, man, sample that. Go ahead with that and see if you can create something cool. There are no rules to this shit. Do whatever you want to do. What I'm talking about tonight is just like a framework. I'm just trying to lay out the ways in which I do things, just to give you an idea of something that you can do. You know, not necessarily the only way to do it, but it's just the way that I go about doing things. So Ace is asking, what are the respective advantages of sending chop samples and sounds in groups? Advantages of sending chop samples to sounds in groups. Is one better than the other? Ace, what do you mean by that, man? Can you explain that a little bit? I'm not exactly sure what you mean. So Christian's asking, sorry for the instrument questions, but also if I wanted vocal samples, can I do the same steps as the solos or instruments? I'm not exactly sure what you mean. If I want vocal samples, can I do the same steps as the solos or instruments? So as far as vocal samples go, yeah, just I guess you mean, can you sample from YouTube in the same way? Yeah, definitely. And sort of find the pieces that you want to take and get them into Maschine and sample them that way. Okay, guys, I think I'm gonna wrap this up and go ahead and help out Carol and Tyron, so make sure that they're able to get up and going on everything. Guys, I appreciate you taking the time to show up with me tonight. Obviously, if you didn't hear in the beginning, RIP to Fife of A Tribe Called Quest. If y'all didn't hear that he passed away yesterday. You know, he's been sick for a very long time, but so Tyron and Spinos. All right, so I'm going to send you guys the direct access links. You do not sign up through hiphoprally.com. You sign up specifically through a different link, and that should be on the thank you page after you've checked out. So you'll see, hold on specifically. I'll help you guys out in 1 second when I'm finished. But you'll be able to jump in and see, it says thank you for investing. You get the link to access to sign up for your Beat School membership and all that other stuff. So guys, I'm going to send you a private message to the page, Espinosa and Tyron. I'm going to send you access to the page in which you can sign up for the program, sort of jump in on everything. Let's see, how do you do private messages on YouTube? Make this thing so damn complicated. Slice samples, you're given to send those slices to either an individual sound or to several different pads. Okay. Ace. All right, I finally get what you're saying. When you slice samples, you're given the choice to send those slices to an individual sound or to several different pads within the group. I typically sample within several different pads within the group just because you get much more control over the manipulation of that sound. So I don't necessarily want, that's typically when you're doing like auto chop and things like that. That's the way you have to work with things. I typically put duplicates of each of the sounds and use the start and end points on a sample, choose new start and end points. And it'll give you a lot more manipulation over the individual sounds and determining the start and end points. I don't do any auto chop or anything like that just because I feel like it takes away from the feel of everything. But I typically put them within their own individual groups, and I'll have individual sounds on each pad, all right? On different pads within that group, if that answers your question. All right, guys, I think that's about it. Let me refresh to see if we got any more questions. Darius says, thank you for showing up, Darius. Ace, hopefully that answered your question. Neil says, thank you for the help. Ace, again, thank you, man. Everybody check out Ace's SoundCloud page. I'm going to do that right now. Jerry, I appreciate you. Appreciate the shout out, Jerry. Glad you finally got your copy of the book, man. And I appreciate that, you guys. I will, for all of you that are asking questions about the sign up, who just signed up right now, I'm going to be sending you an email to resend that link. So check your email for that. It's going to send you the link that you'll use to sign up for the site. Check your email now, and you'll be able to sign up through the site there. The URL is specific to that page. You're not going to be able to sign up directly through the hiphoprally.com or hiphoprallybeatschool.com. All right, so check out for that email, guys. I'll send it to you now. I appreciate you checking out this event, guys, and I'm glad that you showed up. It's pretty great. So I'll check you guys out later, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks. Peace.